What's happening, sports fans, and welcome to a show that is long overdue. We have the wonderful Aaron Burgin.
Burgin in the building.
Burgin in the building.
Hey, call.
The last time that Aaron and I saw each other was November 13th of 2020 when his son, who apparently is named Aaron Burgin Jr., was signing his letter of intent. Congratulations on that.
Appreciate it.
Have you guys slowly? It's an orange themed color, yes.
Yes, orange and black.
Orange and black. So has the house slowly become Halloween colors yet, or that hasn't started quite yet?
Not quite.
Not quite yet. Congratulations on Boogie also transferring to your school. Because he transferred to USC, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah. Deal. No. Look. This has also come with like a half hour of ER and TV talk beforehand. Yeah, the intern says hi. The intern likes her. If you guys are unfamiliar with Aaron, I don't know why you would, but
I'm not talking no more.
The intern's freaking out about the printer. She doesn't know exactly what's going on there. If you guys have not had the pleasure of watching Aaron on this show before, he is full-time Hoops 1. He is Mr. Like, the way that Dave Ring and Bodie know baseball, Aaron knows stuff that he's forgotten about basketball and whatnot. So we are going to do all of the divisions.
Yes, sir.
I would not like to drag the people into 2 hours of list radio and everything like that because the semifinals and on deserve the ton of love.
That's what people are looking for.
And a lot of this, you don't want to necessarily mislead people about some of the opportunities for Coach Simons to make appearances on the show.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Coach. Her microphone still doesn't work. That's what we tell people. So, but let's get it started, though. Division 5.
Yes.
The teams that are moving on. Congratulations to Liberty Charter, St. Joseph Academy,
yes, sir.
Crawford, and Bayfront Charter all have first-round buys. If you want to find all of these brackets, like I always tell you, you guys are all smart cookies. You can figure it out. But it'll be on our Instagram if you need anywhere to look at it. The games that are happening, they are happening the 1st, which is this Wednesday. It says 7 p.m. on the brackets. I would assume most of these are at 5 or 7 or 3 or 2 or 8.
I think the 1st is tomorrow.
I'm just saying that I'm seeing them as the 1st on the D5 bracket.
Oh, yeah, on June 1st.
And the 1st is tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm now realizing that. Hey, look.
Tomorrow.
It's a 3-day weekend tomorrow. So Vincent
it's only
Memorial,
a day away.
Vincent Memorial, Cambridge School, Bonsall Coastal Academy, High Tech Chula Vista, Escondido Adventist, Palo Verde Valley, High Tech High North County. Anything out of these teams that people need to look for in the first round of this playoffs? Anybody that you see maybe threatening those top 4 seeds?
Not really. I think if there's one team that can give the top 4 a run, it probably would be Bonsall. They've actually had quietly a good season. They've got some shooters on that squad. I think they could. What's interesting about the Bonsall thing is that, they've been around for a couple years now, and they're slowly starting to encroach on some of the kids that Fallbrook would get. And I'm wondering at what point does Bonsall overtake Fallbrook in terms of basketball prowess? Because again, do they have a football program yet?
No,
exactly, no football program. The focus can be basketball centric, smaller school. It could be appealing to some of those kids who might not want to go to Fallbrook.
Well, the same parallel debate I think has happened with Sage Creek. Mm-hmm. Is initially everyone was like, who's going to end up choosing Sage Creek over Carlsbad, LCC, Poway, all the other options that they have up there, and is the no football going to hurt them? Is it going to help them? Mm-hmm. And I think ultimately what we've seen, I know that 2 finals appearances in 5 years for the basketball program, one of them a win. The baseball program, we were arguing, is the quickest ascension in the history of sports because they've gone from D5 to open division in 4 years.
Insane.
And then I got very quickly scolded by saying that I was giving disrespect to Baz and the run that you guys have made at San Diego in the last couple of years.
From D4 to D1.
To D4 to D1. But, Sage Creek maybe provides a little bit of a template for what Bonsall can do is, hey, look, if you're not looking for everything football, basketball, baseball related, just stay here. Come on over to us.
But to be honest with you, I think Division 5, it's really boiling down to 2 of these teams.
Okay.
And those would be Liberty Charter and Crawford. Crawford.
Dude, stop playing the chalk, man. Stop playing the chalk. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking with you.
I know.
Hey, I love seeing Crawford in the driver's seat of a playoffs. It's about time. It's about time.
About time. You know, they're a program that just gets picked clean. Their neighborhood gets picked clean by all the other schools surrounding and the private schools. You know, if you could put a net around Crawford and just all the kids that lived in their neighborhood went to Crawford, I mean, they would be competitive in every single sport, I think, especially.
The football program is proving that. Mm-hmm. And by association, Marquez is doing that with the track program.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so basketball this year, you know, has been kind of a renaissance. Last year, I think they won one game or were winless, I think, 0-24. This year, really turned it around, and I like their guard play. I like their athleticism. They have a pair of sophomore transfers from Central America that are pretty solid. And then, of course, Liberty Charter. Liberty Charter has a huge team. I mean, their front court is 6'7" and 6'6", and the Division V low, and they're good too. One of the kids, Jonah Belprez, he's going to Ave Maria University.
Yeah, don't disrespect D5 champions ever, because Derek Carter Hollinger was a D5 champion one year, and then like 48 hours later, everyone was like, "Oh, he fits as a perfect piece at Foothills," and I'm like,
yeah,
you would think that that's a bit of a jump, but
yeah, and it wasn't. Of course, and of course, you know, last year you had 6'11" Martin Gumwell.
Was that with Preuss or O'Farrell? It was. Where did they start?
Derek Carter Hollinger?
Yeah.
He was at O'Farrell.
O'Farrell, deal.
Yeah.
That was the O'Farrell championship.
We thought that was going to be the dynasty, and then Coach dipped to CSUN.
Dude, that was
Coach
a weird
V.
that was a weird one, because they had the pieces, and then they all just kind of split
Everybody
apart.
just dispersed.
But they all went to successful dispersions.
Yeah.
This to me, like you mentioned Crawford, this to me is D5 working perfectly how it's supposed to work. And it's supposed to isolate out the teams that really need an opportunity to play at a certain kind of competitiveness to rebuild and actually get interest in it again, because you're not going to get kids interested in going 0-24 in D2 every year.
Year in, year out. Yep.
But you could roll out the ball, win a D5 championships, or go to a D5 semifinals or something like that, and pick up a little bit of, hey, like, we have pride, we have momentum, we have interest in
and
this.
you often hear the argument that people, you know, get upset when you see big schools that wind up in Division V.
No.
And it's like, no.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
It's not based on the population anymore. It's based on the success the schools had. And if a school hasn't had success, what point is it to have them playing schedules against teams that they really don't have a realistic chance of defeating? Right now, regardless of what the populations of these schools, they are all on even playing fields. This is a competitive Division V field, but ultimately,
well, it's what Division V should do every year. Is, like I said, it's give the teams that need it the most the opportunity to shine in a way that helps. It's a shot in the arm. It's a shot in the arm. Yeah. On to Division 4. No buys in this one.
No buys.
Maranatha and Classical in the first round. I'm just going to run through all the games for you real quick. We got Santana playing Kearney. Victory Christian takes on San Pasqual. High Tech San Diego takes on Hilltop. Always love me a 14 or 12 or 14 seeded Hilltop. I'm members. Calvin Christian takes on Imperial. Guajome Park Academy takes on Fallbrook. Holtville takes on El Cajon Valley. Escondido Charter takes on Southwest. I will just play the blatant homerism of go Hilltop go through that playoff time. But it's interesting. The Maranatha guys and girls both won seeds in their respective playoffs. So they have become a little bit of a basketball school now. Chalk in this one, or do you see something interesting out of this bracket that people need to know about?
Yeah, I think one of the things you got to watch out for in the Division 4 bracket is some of the larger schools and lower seeds, because they have played stronger schedules than some of the smaller schools. So specifically Santana at the 10, I believe they're at the 8 seed. They're at the 8 seed. Yeah, Santana is an 8 versus Kearney is a 9. I think the winner of that game can give Maranatha a push.
Okay.
Santana's got 3 really good basketball players in the form of Carson Burton, Alden. Alden, I forgot your last name.
It's all good.
Yeah, and Ethan Walshko. I'm gonna go look up.
While you filibuster, I'll say that San Pasqual is also one of those other teams that's a bigger school, tougher lineup in terms of regular season games to play. And Yeah, you wind up with some of those numbers seeding wise. They look at that, you're like,
Alvin Rasmussen is his name. Yeah,
you're like, yeah, so maybe 5 of those losses could be wins and put you from a 13 to a 7 or something like that. And
it's interesting though. You mentioned San Pasquale. I mean, they were pretty bad at the beginning of the year, and then they had 2 transfers from down the street in Orange Glen, changed everything for them. They've been playing a lot better. Went just below 500 in the Valley League. They could give teams trouble.
Look, still, the first third of this entire season was still wonky.
Yeah.
It was transfers, it was COVID games, it was all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of this in general, it's good to see teams with 20 games, but it's still not at 20 consistent regular games like we know historically for a season.
I mean, you got teams playing 24 games, but they've played like 10 in a 2-week span, trying to cram all of them in because they missed some early in the year. It's just, it's not conducive to a lot of consistency.
Ton of the Imperial Valley represented here in this bracket with Southwest, Imperial, and Holtville. Mm-hmm. What do you like the best out of those 3 to make a deep run?
Holtville. Holtville solid. They play an old school brand of basketball. They got 2 bigs in the middle who mix it up, and then they've got a really adept perimeter shooter who can cause teams problems. Now, it was interesting. They were right on the cusp of a 2 seed, but because they didn't play the requisite amount of games, they got a waiver and they were placed at the 3 seed. I like them. Southwest and Imperial, I probably don't have a ton of intel on, but I've already been on record as saying that I really want Escondido Charter to make it out of that first round. I'm a big David Dosick fan, and he's got some talent over there, and I've been picking him to make it out of the first round for like 3 years. So please get it done for me, fellas. Please get it done for me.
Not this is the year. Just please. For
and a couple of players, I think, in this bracket, sometimes you hear the saying that it's not about X's and O's, it's about Jims and Joes. There are several players in this bracket I think can really do some damage. Of course, we've talked about Martin Gumwell, the 6'11" center from Calvin Christian. He's unlike anything in this bracket in terms of a physical force, a rebounding force, a guy who just makes things happen on both ends. Ube Hussein from Kearney, high-scoring guard. He can go for 30 just like that. I mean, he's single-handedly kept his team in a lot of games this year. And then there's Vinny Signorelli over at Victory Christian. He's had a huge year. Had a couple of 40-point games. They've been just beset by a schedule kind of disintegrating beneath their feet. West Shores forfeited all of their games. The Rock Academy bottomed out at the end of the year, forfeited their games. But that's not to take away from what Signorelli has done at Victory Christian. And then, of course, there's your guys over at Hilltop. Jacob Zimmerman's had a huge year for them. And Damian Monhay, the junior guard, who I've been a fan of since he was a freshman, he had a slow start to the year, but has really picked it up. That 5-12 matchup between High Tech and SD and Hilltop is going to be the best game of the bunch.
I like the 5-12, always a good
always
game.
Is good.
Always a good. We'll put that on the poll at SD Prep Insiders. The 5-12, always a good game. On to Division 3.
This is going to be fun.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
This division right here, I already have a favorite.
So we got a pair of play-in games that
happen tonight.
So at this point, I'm not even going to have us discuss them because we wouldn't get this turned around in time anyway to have it be of any consequence. Valhalla, the 1 seed, takes on the winner of one of the play-in games. Mira Mesa Ramona is the 8-9 game. Hoover versus West Hills is the 4-13. Granite versus Calexico is that dreaded 5-12 matchup. Central versus another one of the play-in games, Sage Creek versus Mount Carmel, Madison versus Monte Vista, San Diego Academy versus Steel Canyon. I will let you get to your rationale behind why you find this to be fun, but I think that this is one to me that jumps out as this is the first bracket where I can identify several of these teams have guys splitting seasons right now and have guys who are baseball players that get off the diamond and go straight into the gym, or volleyball players that are driving back from game. Like, there are some of these teams that
Madison, right? Marlon Jorgensen and Jake Jackson both play
Madison
baseball.
Specifically has the most that I'm thinking of, but I'm pretty sure Monte Vista has at least one. West Hills has at least one. Mira Mesa has at least one.
West Hills' best basketball player is also a really good baseball player, correct?
Yeah. So that's what I'm just saying.
Kyle Dobbins.
This one to me is interesting because you're getting some of these kids at the end of their energy. Like already, and the playoffs are just starting and they're already drained.
Yes.
So madness to me is going to ensue when I'm looking at some of these higher seeded teams with not a ton of confidence because you don't necessarily know, like, is that kid going to be 100% fresh for his playoff game?
I've got high confidence in at least one of the top 4 seeds. I'm all in, just push my chips in on Hoover winning this bracket.
Really?
Yes. Big time. I had a chance to see Hoover up.
Hoorah.
Yeah, Hoorah. Had a chance to see them up close, I think 5 or 6 times this year. Saw them in the beginning of the season against San Ysidro. Played San Ysidro pretty tough, and then turned around the next night and beat them in triple overtime, 92-90. So that score jumped out at me. 92 points in a high school game. That's pretty impressive. Then of course they played San Diego early in the year without AJ in the lineup, and they were up 15 and gave it away at the very end. And I'm like, that's an interesting game for them. But I saw them later in the year twice, and one time it was with AJ in the lineup on AJ's senior, quote unquote, senior night, held at 3 p.m. We won't talk about that. But Wayne Hampton, their lead guard, he is uber impressive. Had 43 or 41 points against San Diego on that day, hit 6 3-pointers, attacking the basket, gets to the foul line, makes plays for others, and then you surround him with a lot of athletes who really just can get after it, whether it's Franklin Frank, Keshawn Matthews, 6'9" Nicholas Fowler. They've got some young guys, Shakir Jackson, a sophomore. They got a freshman guard who's played really big minutes for them all year. I mean, this is a team that's got a collection of athletes that play hard and play for their coach. I really like their chances in this bracket. They're my favorites.
I look at this also as it's interesting that like Sage Creek, Mount Carmel pairs up together. We got a couple of North County teams that are paired up together that sometimes what you like out of the playoffs is new and fresh matchups because you're like, oh, you have no idea what those two styles of play are. But other times you get some teams that have met each other and you're like, man, that's the short end of the stick for both of those teams because they're going to have so much time to prep and they're going to have so much time to be ready for each other.
And not to mention, I felt bad that those two ended up playing against each other because I felt they should have been both high season Division III. I think Mount Carmel is really underrated.
Anything else to get to on D3 or we move on
to
D2?
No. Well, the other thing in D3, I mean, I've seen Valhalla play a few times, and while I think that it's great that they're a 1 seed, I think that they were really strong early in the year, and they faded a bit of late. So it'll be interesting to see how far they can make it. I think on that side of the bracket, Mira Mesa, and then, of course, I think Hoover, teams that are capable of taking them out. And then on the bottom side of the bracket, Sage Creek made a run a few years ago as a 10 seed to get to the Division III finals and win it. I could see them conceivably as a 7 seed doing a similar run if they can get past Mount Carmel in that first round game. Yeah, so
on to the Division II playoffs. You see them up on the board behind me.
Nice.
Orange Glen versus UC, Patrick Henry, Mount Miguel, Del Norte, Lincoln, La Jolla, Bishops. Ugh. That has to be the 5-12 game. That has to be the 5-12 game.
Could you imagine if there was no COVID restrictions, that game would be insane.
I can imagine because I've been kicked out of that game before.
Oh my goodness. You too?
You've also been kicked out of that game?
No, I've been kicked out of a game.
I've been specifically asked to leave that specific game because when I was there was when Kamal was the head coach for La Jolla, and Tarantino was the head coach at Bishops, but Kamal was a teacher at Bishops. So our chant was, you pay him, he beats you. You pay him, he beats you. And the faculty nor the students cared for that very much happening on their campus from a kid wearing Viking horns and having red and black face paint blowing into a horn.
Touche.
I'm surprised that Al Gomez has let me back on campus since then.
Coronado Army Navy.
Coronado Army Navy. I'm just going to blanketly say it because I've been saying it all season long. Coronado is the best 1-2 combo of any team in San Diego with Alex Crawford and Wayne McKinney.
They're fun to watch.
And they just got to have the right lineup on the court to reflect that skill set, because they've dropped a couple games, and it happens, whatever. John Maffey, stop emailing me back that you don't believe they're a top 10. I'm always going to vote for them for the top 10. Stop discrediting me as a top 10 voter for them. Westview, Grossmont, Canyon Crest Academy, Eastlake, Oceanside, Rancho Bernardo. I'm going to look up a meme while you go ahead and tell me what you see out of this bracket.
Orange Glen, 1 seed. They're, in my opinion, they're the best overall team in this bracket. Coronado has the most top-end talent in this bracket. Lincoln would be the dark horse of this bracket. And the best individual player just by himself, without a ton of talent surrounding him, would be Alexis Marmolejos from the 15-seed Army-Navy Warriors. So I see Lincoln being a team that, could get out of that 4-13 matchup. I see that as being a potential upset. And I've been on record multiple times. Lincoln is a team that, their season is in three very well-defined epochs.
Go ahead and read this. I
finally found it after 15 years. The scroll is true. Wayne is better than you.
Do you see who the character is in the first?
Oh man, you better hope he doesn't come back next year. So they've had 3 well-defined epochs. The first part of the season, no football players, just a handful of their basketball guys. Got off to a really slow start. Second epoch, football players return except for Jaleel Florence, who decided to run track this year and turned out to be a world-class track athlete, which I'm not surprised. Epoch 3, Jaleel Florence's track season ends. He rejoins the basketball lineup. This team is not the same team that played those first 2 epochs.
And that's kind of what I was saying in the beginning divisions, is that some of this just is not adequately fleshed out as a season to reflect the seedings correctly.
Yeah. And so them as a 13 seed, I think over the last five or 6 games, they've probably been one of the 4 best teams in this bracket. So I see Lincoln as being capable of making a run in this bracket. But I think, it's all fun and games until you get to Orange Glen with their combination of speed and tenacity and the ability to shoot the ball. On the bottom side of the bracket, I think Coronado, that first game is going to be an interesting one. Alexis Marmolejos, I've had 2 Coastal League coaches over the last 48 hours call me and say, if his team wasn't 2-10, he would be player of the year in the Coastal League. He's the best player in our league as a junior. And that's saying a lot.
Isn't that something that Army Navy's kind of always got, is just the low-key physicality and capability that any given moment, if they want to turn into Mike Pence, they're more than welcome to. If any given moment, the Flyers are going crazy the couple of days here. At any given moment, they can collapse their lineup into one core group that can do something pretty dangerous no matter who the opponent is. It's just they don't always have the ability to sustain it for 20 games.
And this one is, collapsing into just a singular talent, because right now, they graduated a lot from last year, but he is playing at an unreal level. And they've got a couple of pair of brothers, the Reed brothers, who transferred from Orange County, who are also, good support players. But that Wayne McKinney versus AJ Marmolejos matchup,
it's worth the price of admission.
That's the game. If I didn't have a kid playing on June 1st, I would be at that game, because I think both are capable of putting up a triple-double in that game. But once Coronado gets past there, between
they'll lay waste to the rest of this bracket.
I think that side of the bracket, they've got a pretty good chance of getting to the championship.
And just La Jolla, please don't lose in the first round. Please don't.
They're playing really well right now.
I like Coach Nick at Bishops, but I don't like him enough to root against my alma mater in the playoffs.
They're playing really well right now. Bishops is a tricky team. They beat them earlier in the year, but that was without Diego Solis and Max Ralston, who were playing football at the time. They completely changed the tenor of the season, because it gives Christian Gamboa two really solid, support pieces.
You know what makes me feel old? Reed Fairley is like done at Harvard.
Every year I look at, who's graduating from college, and I'm like, man, I used to write about you guys.
Yeah, like I can vividly remember that championship game of Langborg and Fairley. Yeah, man.
That was a good one.
No, it wasn't. God, no. I sent a text message to Tommy at halftime. We're going to blow this 20-point lead. And lo and behold, we did. On to the Division I bracket. Modern Day Catholic, RBV, Vista versus San Diego. Bonita Vista, Helix, Francis Parker, Christian, La Jolla Country Day, Otay Ranch, LCC Poway, Mission Bay, Montgomery, San Ysidro, Foothills Christian. Mm-hmm. I will not ask you to analytically tell me who's going to win this one because your son and your team is involved in this one, but I will still ask for just some of your general basketball expertise in highlighting maybe what are some important matchups to look at in this first round.
A little bit of gamesmanship went into how this bracket went down.
Bro, that is always the D1 Open Division.
I don't even think necessarily D1 Open Division. I mean, Mission Bay was sitting pretty at the 1 seed, and I don't think even if they had won their last game, I don't think it would have been enough to pass Carlsbad and be that 8 seed in the Open Division. But to rest arguably their most talented guard, KJ Gonzalez, and Angelo Gill for 3 quarters until La Jolla was up 16 and running away with it, and then suddenly inserting Jello into the lineup in like kind of a last-ditch attempt to salvage the game. It was interesting to see that occur right on the last day of the season, but I don't think Mission Bay expected to fall all the way to 3. And then, what ended up happening, Bonita ended up losing a game to San Ysidro that was pretty unexpected, and Bonita dropped below La Jolla Country Day, and then that knocked Mission Bay and Country Day right next to each other. And, of course, La Jolla Country Day had beaten Mission Bay earlier in the year, so now Country Day is the 2 seed. So it's an interesting bracket because I see a few teams that are out of place. Bonita as a 4, Bonita arguably when they're whole, they had one of their starters did not play in the game against San Ysidro. When Bonita's whole, they're arguably the second best or best team in this bracket, along with Modern Day Catholic. Francis Parker, when they're whole, may be better than both of those teams. I had Francis Parker as a preseason top 10 team. I was in the strong minority in that. And I thought the reason why was because they're built very similarly to the team that had the huge run last year. The biggest problem this year was that Camden McCormick, who's kind of the linchpin of that team. He's the guy who does all the dirty work on the boards. He guards multiple positions on the interior. He's an excellent shooter, and he initiates the offense. He went down with what might be like the 12th ankle sprain in all of San Diego this year. I mean, between McCormick, AJ, Keaton Smith, I can name about 5 or 6 other guys who had ankle sprains because we started playing basketball way too soon. Won't get into that. But, yeah, I think the winner of that Bonita Vista Parker potential quarterfinal matchup, I think that
circle that as
the heavy favorite to make a deep run.
I look at this up and down the bracket, and I shouldn't say finally, that's rather dismissive, but we're starting now to have a bracket where you look at this top to bottom, and every team has some permutation on the court that if they are on, you could make a conceivable argument for them to win. Granted, I mean, 12 through 16, it gets a little bit smaller of a chance, but you still look at this and you're like, man, every one of these teams has at least one formula where if that group is on for the majority of minutes.
Let's talk about it. Foothills Christian, if Darian Carter Hollinger is healthy, yes, they can give San Ysidro a run for their money. If Poway outside of Garrett Pyle, if they can get one of their other perimeter guys going, along with Cole Stevens in the middle, they could give Lacoste. I mean, they only lost to Lacoste by 6 in that season opener.
Yeah.
Go up to San Diego and Vista. They played each other in the beginning of the year.
Look, San Diego's going to be fine. I'll say this because Baz knows how to coach in the playoffs.
He does.
And he knows that sometimes you got to sit the cocky kid who tries to take all the threes just because he thinks I'm committed to go play D1. Like, I'm all good. I won a couple championships, coach. I know what I'm doing. Sometimes you just got to sit him in favor of that that Caucasian freshman that just likes to low post, go for the layups. It's a more reliable. Does your son even bounce past the ball anymore, or is it all that? No, I'm just kidding with you.
Wow.
Look, San Diego is a team that I will never discount just because Baz has gotten it done with both basketball players and like the Thomas Marcus.
Marcus.
The white kid from 2 years
Daniel
ago.
Thomas.
Daniel Thomas. I knew there was a Thomas in there. The Daniel Thomas, like he's done it with both. Like he's done it with and without basketball guys. Yeah. So all of that being said, let's talk about the open division.
Oh man.
Because, oh man, indeed. Torrey Pines and San Marcos seem disproportionately better than everybody. Maybe throw Cathedral Catholic into that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I disagree with that.
Okay, great, perfect. That's why we have a show, because it would be stupid if it was just us agreeing on everything. But the brackets behind me, Torrey Carlsbad is one of them, SFC, Saints, Cathedral, Mission Hills, San Marcos, El Camino. I think the only team in here that people would be like, oh, is El Camino, just because they haven't consistently been a open division top tier basketball school, but they've been a good basketball school for the last half decade to a full blown 10-year span. What do you see out of this though?
So I'd say going the past 20 years, El Camino has, prior to the most recent run from 2013 to 2021 or 2014 when Devin was there, I would say the Devin Cameron Rooks era, they were perennially one of the top 5 teams in San Diego. Recently, they haven't been. But the thing I would say about this bracket is, yes, Torrey Pines is undefeated. Yes, San Marcos is undefeated. But there are teams in there that have given them a pretty good run for their money. Torrey Pines, for instance, one of the first games of the season was against Santa Fe Christian when they were full strength and healthy. That was a double overtime game that Santa Fe probably should have won in regulation. They had a shot at the buzzer to win it, didn't go in. And then Trevin Martin had full body cramps at the middle of the first overtime and could not play the first 2 overtimes. And so they escaped with that win, I would say. Santa Fe Christian is playing Saints. They played 2 knockdown drag out wars, and that's going to be just an interesting one.
This is an amazing bracket. Every one of these games is awesome.
And Mission Hills, of course. Mission Hills gave Cathedral everything they had and led with 15 seconds left before Alex Wade buried a 15-foot jump shot to win it. So I would say that yes, the prevailing logic is that the 2 undefeated teams should meet in the championship, but I would say both teams can't look ahead at all, because that first round game, Torrey Pines and Carlsbad, just a couple weeks ago, Carlsbad was leading 43-40 in the fourth quarter of a game against Torrey. And of course, you've got Cathedral on San Marcos' side of the brackets. And of course, they're the open division, they're the reigning open division champs. They're just not going to sit there and let San Marcos get there. These are, I think, the only game that I think is going to be, out of reach in that first round is probably going to be that San Marcos El Camino one. And it's not a diss to El Camino. I think Tyson Robinson and Keave Love and Henry Hartwell are going to give it everything they got, but I just don't think they have the depth to really match San Marcos in that matchup.
No, it's going to be an amazing bracket. These are all pushed back a couple of days from the other ones, so we have more time to let the dust settle on all these. But I think that, to me, the exciting thing is you see a defending champ in there. Mm-hmm. You see 2 undefeated teams. And to me, we've always, as a city, been kind of teetering on how good are we at basketball?
Yeah.
We're good, but are we that good? I would not, the way that I would with baseball, I would not go out and say we are best in the state, deep at basketball.
Mm-hmm. We've always been really top heavy.
But we've always been good. We've always had good teams. This, to me, strikes of, we finally got an open division where you look at that and there's 4 teams in there where you're all of those teams are pretty damn nasty, top to bottom. And it's just, whoever wins it, regardless, it's just nice, I think, to not. This is the first time in a while that we haven't had something where it's and I don't want to sound like, oh, I've been hating on these teams, because I'm not hating on them, but the TJ Leaf era, it's going to be a surprise if someone beats Foothills.
There's parity at the top.
Yeah, there's parity. I think that's maybe the depth and parity in the bracket is what I'm looking for. And it feels nice to have that at the highest level and not just at the D3 bracket or something like that.
To be honest with you, as a San Diego basketball lover, if Torrey Pines were to get through this bracket and remain undefeated, how awesome would it be to have Torrey Pines as potentially the number 2 overall seed in the Southern California regional playoffs? That'd be amazing. It'd be amazing.
It'd be amazing.
I mean, San Diego has often, its open division winner has often been like the 7 or the 8th seed in an 8-team bracket.
You're hitting right where I'm going with it. Is that it feels like 1 or 2 of these teams could come out of this bracket
and actually make a run at state,
or at least get a legitimate seeding in the tournament that puts us in the conversation of, oh, well, we didn't lose to a D4 Southern Section champ in the first round of the playoffs. We lost to LeBron's kid. Like, we lost to something of that, like, elite top tier caliber that you walk away from it going, all right, fine, great. That was
actually,
a good matchup.
I personally think that Torrey Pines, if they make it undefeated and go into state, I think they can win the whole thing.
That's what I like to hear. We will end on that note. We will say, folks, go follow Aaron. Fulltime Hoops 1 is the account for some really, you've adapted to use Instagram rather aggressively. I enjoy it. I like it.
It's funny because a couple years ago I was really heavy on it, and then I got back into Twitter and was really heavy on Twitter. Then I just went AWOL for 5 months.
Because Twitter's become a cesspool.
Yeah.
And
come on, man. I'm not trying to be Mike Pence.
Yeah, that's why Twitter's become a cesspool. And on that note, we will say, go follow Aaron. He's got a lot of really good stuff. We appreciate all of this. We appreciate Scorebook Live for the bracket. We appreciate the intern for being nice and cool and calm and collected and biting out too much during the show. Talk to you later, sports fans.
Peace.